Next week, we'll be discussing High and Low from 1963. Nick, how was your watch?
It was great. Oh, you want more than that? Okay.
No! KJ, how was your watch?
So this was one I watched recently, I believe even before we realized it was going to be the topic of this episode. KJ knows I like to watch movies and I have trouble finding time to watch them, but I have been doing it more and more lately where I can. And he said, "You know what? Put High and Low on your list." So I immediately watched it and it was very good and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will save most of my thoughts for next week when we talk about it in greater detail, but I really like it for many elements and particularly the main character, the actor who portrays the main character. I like him in a lot of Kurosawa's films. KJ, what were your thoughts?
So this movie, High and Low, had been on my list for a while. Um, Mostly, Kurosawa does a lot of the samurai films, right? That's an understatement. So I'd mostly seen the samurai films. This is the first one I'd seen that wasn't a samurai film. And audience, it is amazing. I'm pretty sure it's close to a perfect movie. And that's pretty high praise, but I really think it was great. If you haven't seen it, audience, I implore you to go watch it. It is filmmaking at its finest. Every frame is perfectly placed. The camera movement, where the actors are standing, the plot, the story, the tension, the contrast. I don't even know how to gush about this movie accurately. It is wonderful. What did you think, Tom?
Oh, I agree. I saw this movie years and years ago, and I haven't revisited it in I think maybe 10 years. And the audience probably doesn't know this. Trained to be a stage director and did it for a little while, a very short period in my life. But as a stage director, you are obsessed with the blocking of the actors. That's the position of the actors and the movement of the actors in space. And then when they're framed is when they are at a still point and what that composition looks like when they're at that still point. And so whenever you're directing something, a lot of what you're doing is stage business, moving people around, justifying the movements, finding a realistic reason why somebody would move from A to B, not just because it looks good, but there also has to be like a reason this human being would do this. And I think the blocking with the camera movement in this movie is probably the best I've seen in a film. I've never seen anybody coordinate a scene with actors moving from one composition to another composition as the cameras, and Kurosawa typically uses two cameras at a time in these shots, as the cameras are moving as well. He is relying more upon this kind of picturesque movement from image to image than he is in cutting, I think, even though his editing is also supreme. And consequently, it looks like a dance. The entire movie looks like a dance, especially the first half. And this continues on. The framing in the second half is brilliant, also. But yeah, I would say that especially in the first half, the way you watch those actors and the police investigator and Gondo, the main character, in that house and how they're moving around as the phone is ringing is it's supreme. It's wonderful.
High and Low is available on Max and the Criterion channel at the time of this recording.